So I guess you could say I've been thinking about doing Alien Dawn since the age of 6. Reason I can say that is the first book I ever read was The Time Machine by H.G. Wells, and the second book was War of the Worlds. And it was a big influence on my entire life, movie making life, my everyday life. And so I was always thinking about Martians and alien invasion and those types of things and giant walking tripods. It was always in my head pretty much every day of my life when I was growing up. So it was destined to be made as a film at some point. So when all these movies came out, War of the Worlds in 2005, there was like 3 different versions, I think. There was really no reason for me to do a War of the Worlds movie, as I was planning to do as well. It really frustrated me and it made me happy. I really liked Steven Spielberg's version of War of the Worlds. It was the right film to make at the time, and it was very justifiable, and I think he really did a good job in so many ways. And I didn't want to go down that path again. I didn't want to do the same sort of film. So I guess I shelved the idea of doing War of the Worlds, and then after doing a couple of more science fiction movies, I felt that maybe I should just do a version of War of the Worlds to get it out of my system until I was ready to do a big version of it. That's why I didn't want to call this movie War of the Worlds. It's called Alien Dawn, and I will still one day do War of the Worlds from the original H.G. Wells novel, that's for sure. I just have to leave a little bit of a gap between myself and Steven Spielberg, because I will never be, that level of greatness. But it was always a love project for me, and I've just constantly filled my dreams and nightmares with giant Martian tripods walking around. So I finished a movie called Alien Armageddon, and there was talk about me doing a sequel to that film. Rather than do a sequel, I thought I'd best do another alien invasion movie, and that's where Alien Dawn came into being. And I didn't want to bash people over the heads with it being War of the Worlds, but it basically is that story. And it's done out of respect to H.G. Wells and the H.G. Wells Society, and to Steven Spielberg, and to people like Jeff Wayne, who did the musical version of War of the Worlds, which when I was growing up was really a big influence on my music career and also my fantasy life. It was just something that I would just listen to over and over, and I would look at these amazing pictures of Martians and tripods and what have you, and it just always gave me a warm feeling. That being said, possibly one of the larger influences on this film was not War of the Worlds itself, but also the trilogy of novels written for young adults called The Tripods. These were written by John Christopher I think in the 1960s or 70s, I don't remember. But they were these stories I read about basically what happened after the tripods came to the Earth, and they were enslaving humanity, and they put these little things called caps, or these electronic things on the top of their heads, and would allow people to be not rebellious and peaceful. So I guess that part of the story with the tripods was always interesting to me. How did the tripods come to the Earth, and how did they enslave humanity? So this film was maybe a little bit tinged towards that story. Obviously it's set in the future, and people are riding it around on horse and buggies, and there's humanity's been put back to a medieval existence, and they're ruled by these giant tripods who are I won't say benevolent, but they're kind of slowly terraforming the Earth into their something that's similar to their own planet. And I think in reality, if there was an alien invasion happening, why would they invade? Obviously for resources, which we've seen in many movies, but I think more interestingly is to inhabit and to live on a planet like this. I mean, for sure, when we go out into the galaxy and we start going to other solar systems, we are going to find planets that are suitable for habitation, and we're going to go in there and find ways to perhaps change the environment a little bit towards what is more habitable for human beings. And obviously there may be some life on those planets, and how are we going to deal with that? Are we going to wipe out these native life forms, or are we going to work together with them? Obviously, looking at humanity's history, we probably would be wiping these creatures out, find a way to wipe them out, because it's what we do. In Alien Dawn, I was kind of having a go at how does it feel to be on the back end of the invading forces? You know, how does it feel to be invaded and have your planet completely transformed? And I guess this is the starting point of that. It wouldn't be a good feeling to actually have that done to us. Yet one day we will probably do that to another race of beings. So I think these types of films are important to sort of show us how it feels to be on the back end of everything. How did I do the film? I rented a warehouse, which I still have. And before I decided to do a big science fiction movie with a spaceship and everything else, which I was going to do inside the warehouse, I decided to use the empty warehouse first and do this film, because why not? You know, it's I don't want to waste resources or anything else. So I got a warehouse and decided to, you know, base most of the film around the warehouse district in here in California. And I didn't want it to be a Los Angeles movie per se. I didn't want it to be a, you know, LA's been invaded by aliens again. I've already done a movie like that, and I didn't think it was really necessary to go there again. But it is based in the Valley, if you look closely, in Los Angeles. But it's not meant to be it's meant to be an any town type of thing. It's not meant to be anywhere specific. And I've you know, put together a team of actors. Cindy Martin, who's my agent and also you know, a good friend of mine, she came on board as producer and helped me find some really good actors, new up-and-coming actors who were hungry for, you know, stardom and you know, wanting to do good work. It was important that we found real actors and not just, you know, people who want just to you know, be models or be on camera. So I really sought to find real people, real actors, and I was very happy with what I got. And Cindy was great in putting the team together. So, getting ready to prepare the film, I was driving down the highway, and I got rear-ended, and pretty badly rear-ended. My car was all smashed up, and as I got hit, my hand broke and broke 2 fingers right down here. And this is about, I think, 5 days before we had to shoot. So I did the entire shoot. I wanted to DP the film too, which is really crazy. So I ended up director of photographing the film with a broken hand, and basically doing everything with a broken hand. Not really a clever thing, but the other problem was, one of the stars of the film was to be my vehicle, which you can see a version of it in the background. And the problem was the vehicle had been smashed up from the rear and from the front pretty badly. So I worked it into the script that the car had been smashed and by a tripod, or by, you know, a gunshot from a tripod. And I thought that was kind of cool. So, you know, it was a bit of good production value. It wasn't easy doing the movie though, with a broken hand and, you know, being in constant pain. And still am to this day. You know, it's 4 months later and my hand is still not working so good. But I'm hoping it will heal. We did the film with the wrecked vehicle, but I was blessed because the car was smashed but still worked, which was very lucky.
Complete your one job. That's what we need you to do.
Please just start acting like a doll.
Okay, thank you.
When you see a physical model, it's much more pleasurable. And that's something I really liked about there was a BBC production of a TV show called The Tripods, where they had physical models and puppets and stuff. And as I said, I was more influenced by that than anything else, because this BBC series, which was made, I think, in the 80s, looked amazing. And it's still, okay, they look like models now, but it still looked pretty good in, you know, it stands up nicely. And it was a pretty big production for the BBC at the time. They spent like, I think, a year and a half doing some of the models and stuff, you know, getting them ready and planning them and stuff. So I liked the idea of physicalities. And that's really why I was, you know, doing a combination of the two in Alien Dawn. Of course, you know, if I had a bigger budget, maybe I could find a way for these things to physically walk around. But given my limited budget, I had to fall back on some CG stuff at times. And, you know, to be honest, the CG stuff looked really good. Steve did an amazing job. So that's really where Alien Dawn came from. And I'm always I didn't put an ending to the film in the sense that I like the idea that, you know, people are still going to, you know, be fighting against the tripods, and it's possible I'll do a sequel to that. For sure, I'll do a prequel in the sense of, for sure, I'll go back and do an 1898 version of the film, which will be War of the Worlds. And I'll give it a bit of time, you know, let technology sort of breathe and go in its own directions and stuff. There's certainly a lot of interest in War of the Worlds even to this day, even after those, you know, all those movies have been done. I'm very excited to see, you know, what the future's going to bring for filmmaking. You know, it's still a transitional time where we're in, you know, new types of digital cameras and combining live action with, you know, computer graphics. It's really a lot of fun. And you can see we had a lot of fun making this movie. Originally, it was meant to be a found footage movie. People found this footage and kind of, you know, pieced it together to show the war against the tripods went through. So I always find found footage movies to be a bit trendy, and I'm sure that trend won't last forever. So I kind of touched upon that, but I wanted to sort of push it a bit further forward and make it more of a, you know, an interesting narrative. We encourage a lot of improvisation on the set as well, rather than, you know, being too tightly scripted, just to give it a more of a reality feel. My other films have been very tight, you know, script-wise, and I didn't want it to have the same feeling as my previous film, Alien Armageddon, because that was pretty much a standard science fiction type movie with a script and a plot and you know, the usual stuff. I wanted this movie to be a bit more loose and to be a bit more, you know, incoherent, almost chaotic. And that's, you know, that's always what I, you know, set out to do. If I do one type of movie, I don't want to repeat myself ever again and do the same type of movie again and again. I want to do something different. And this is probably, come to think of it, this is the first movie I've done that hasn't been in the universe of the Nephilim. Every movie I've done has been set in the Nephilim universe, and by that I mean, you know, there's a race of beings called the Nephilim who are interfering with humanity, and every movie I've done has been set in that universe. This is the first movie that takes place outside that universe. I think I've retired the Nephilim universe for now, and I want to step away from that and do something new and special. So this is my first foray into that world. And certainly if you watch Alien Armageddon, then you watch this, you'll see Alien Dawn has a completely different texture and a completely different style, even though they both have the word alien in the title. They are definitely different types of movies whatsoever, and obviously not a sequel, not anything related. Possibly a superior film in many ways. Definitely a different, more gritty, more, I guess, reality-based movie, and certainly a lot more explosions. I like blowing shit up, and that really makes me happy. Yeah, other legs, other legs. Damn, he's a mess. So this is my studio, and just want to show you how things are done here in Hollywood. This is the type of workers you have. See? Cleaning up the blood. Isn't that cool? There's a camera crane, dead dog, green screen, and the loyal workers. Work harder. Clean the blood.